Welcome back everybody to another episode of Gemology for Schmucks. My name is Peter Nelson and I'm here to guide you in everything you need to know about gemstones. Today on this episode of In the Loop, where I keep you in the loop of everything you need to know about gemstones, we're talking about connoisseurship and how you can develop your connoisseurship. And we're going to do that specifically through one of my favorite gemstones, Spessartite. Some people call it Mandarin garnet. Now first, what is connoisseurship? Connoisseurship is basically an expertise or a taste that is cultivated in a thing over time. It can happen quickly, it can happen in a long drawn out period of time, but it really comes down to one thing. How much of a thing do you experience and how much do you think about it in a refined way that distinguishes what is good and what is bad. What is good and bad can sometimes be subjective, but it can also be very objective. The reason I suggest Spessartite or Mandarin garnet is because there is enough of a supply of Spessartite, but there are also rarer qualities. So you can look at a lot of it, and get an idea of what is out there. But you can also keep that in mind, keep it fresh, and then when you see something that is rare, you could snatch it up. And the reason I suggest that you do snatch it up is because finding high quality pieces of Spessartite can be very difficult. Before we get any further, what is Spessartite, Spessartine, Mandarin garnet? There are many different names for this. Some people even call it Fanta. Fanta is a reference to the Fanta colored sody pop, that sort of nuclear tang, if you will. Because high quality pieces of Spessartite or Mandarin garnet are in fact that color, and that's why we call it Mandarin garnet. So Spessartite is always going to be some variety of orange or red or slightly brown, but it's going to have that main body color of orange, to my knowledge, because of the chemical structure of all Spessartite garnets. I believe the color-causing element is manganese. So when we're looking at Spessartite, we're always going to see some kind of orange, but we need to find out what is the right kind of orange. Typically, the highest quality, highest priced pieces of Spessartite are going to be a neon orange. But anything that is a pleasant color, of course, you're welcome to buy. Again, you're going to want to look around and see what is plentiful, what's available, and then go for that rarer color. Find the one that is both attractive and fresh, but most importantly, rare, because rarity is what drives up price. A brown modifying color is going to be what drags down the price of the stone into the mud. Because while there may be many things that are beautiful that are brown, in gemstones it's not a pleasant color, aside from an andalusite. But that's mostly because of pleasant contrast. My opinion. Moving on. For Spessartine, we are looking for that neon orange, and we're looking for higher clarity pieces, which we'll get into a little bit later. But to sum up, I suggest that you start with Spessartite because there is a large supply of it. It can help you get an idea of the factors that affect the price point. And finally, even when it's bad, it's good. And what I mean by that is that even the lower priced common material can still be a very attractive color. It's just typically a much cloudier, lower clarity piece. So even the most humble of jewelers can still buy Spessartite. And I mean humble. Some other major advantages are that garnets at this stage in history do not have any synthetics that are true synthetics. There are synthetic garnets, but not the same as the natural garnets that we're talking about here. If you want to know more about that, check out the video on garnets. And also, if you're using a handheld spectroscope, it's very easy to see the spectrum for Spessartite, which makes it very easy to trade in. There are also no major treatments that you need to worry about, that you would need to worry about in stones like emerald, ruby, or sapphire. This is a stone that you can buy and sell without needing incredibly experienced people. You can focus only on the connoisseurship levels that we're talking about in this video. So listen up! So when you're looking to develop connoisseurship in Spessartite and invest in Spessartite, you need to look at color first, which we just talked about. We're looking for that neon orange, or at least a pleasant orange with no or very little modifying brown color. The red can also be nice, but it depends on your market. Get an idea of what appeals to people around you. Otherwise, stick to the orange. Then the next thing that we need to keep in mind is clarity, because clarity, I would say, is the place that Spessartite really comes to shine and help you cultivate your skills. Color takes a certain sharpness to be aware of, but anybody can learn to be aware of clarity. So starting at the bottom, the most commonly available material for Spessartite is really cloudy. The price per carat can be something around a cup of coffee. A nice cup of coffee. So those stones, a lot of cabochons, are going to have a milky appearance but with a really nice body color. So these are great for beginner jewelers that are looking to put some intense color in their jewelry with natural, untreated stones. Moving on for milky, because you don't want to stay there forever, are stones that have some areas of glassy crystal, but then also have areas of milky. So those are going to be more expensive, but they also have more play of light. And really with gemstones, that's what we're looking for, is how does light interact with the stone, because it makes it dynamic, and every environment that you go into, the stone will appear different. With these kinds of stones, you never get bored. So the next step up, some glassy areas, some milky areas. The third level, and this is really where I suggest you start thinking about investing, are stones that have a generally crystalline body, but as you look at them up close, you start to see that they have small, not so distracting inclusions, but evenly distributed throughout the stone. And sometimes inclusions can really be an advantage because when light hits them, especially if they're white inclusions or reflective silk in some other gemstones, when light hits the stone and hits those inclusions, it helps disperse the light and make it seem soft. Some of the most famous sapphires in the world from Kashmir have this same effect. They call it a velvety appearance. And it's considered an advantage. Having some inclusions can also help you to identify your stone. If you've got two people with stones that are the same shape, same color, and generally the same size, if you know where the inclusions are in your stone, then you can identify your stone from the other person's stone. If you get a gem report from GIA and some other labs, you're also going to find a plot of where the inclusions are in certain diamonds. What type of inclusions and where they're located in the stone is diagnostic information. Just like a birthmark, you're not going to find the same birthmark in the same place on two different people, unless there's treachery afoot. You can have synthetic gemstones with inclusions, but putting them in a specific spot is asking too much. Until the aliens come. So level 3, generally clean to the eye, but you'll notice some scattered, evenly distributed, non-distracting inclusions. Level 4 are ideal stones to invest in, and these are what we call eye clean stones. Eye clean is when you're holding the stone at about this distance, a reasonable distance. Let's call it 40 centimeters, a foot and a half, something like that. A normal, reasonable viewing distance. You're not over here trying to drink the stone with your eye. At this distance, you will not be able to see any inclusions. With the caveat that you are an experienced viewer. If you have looked at enough stones and you're used to seeing inclusions, if you look from this distance, you will not be able to see inclusions in an eye clean stone. You are not allowed to use a loupe for eye clean. Now, eye clean stones, when you use a loupe from an unreasonable distance, but the necessary distance for using a loupe, you will be able to see inclusions, and that is important. If there are no inclusions, then that moves us up to level 5, which is called a loupe clean stone. Using a 10 times triplet loupe that we've talked about in a few other videos, as an experienced observer of stones, if you can find no inclusions, then that is what we call loupe clean. I know, it's a simple term. But why do we need to use a 10 times triplet loupe? Because 10 times triplet loupes are standard in the gem trade for grading clarity. If you get a gem report and it says that it's internally flawless, then at 10 times magnification you can find no inclusions. If you pump it up to 40, 50, or 150, then of course you may find something. In fact, I hope you do. Because once again, these inclusions can do two things for us. They can help identify the stone, and they can also make us comfortable that this stone is natural. The stones that have absolutely no inclusions in them make me uncomfortable, and it actually starts to make you go, okay, I need to get involved in an advanced lab and make sure this is a natural stone and not some trickery. But finding small, undistracting inclusions in out-of-the-way places in the stone can help you a lot and put you at ease and make your trading experience much easier. If I'm looking at Sri Lankan sapphires and I see reflective silk over on the side, then it helps me to know that this stone is untreated, most likely, and also that it's a natural stone. The same thing can be done with spessartite. If I find certain well-shaped crystals or other key inclusions, that helps me to know for sure, without any questions, that this is a natural stone. Of course, as we talked about before, you can use the spectroscope to identify spessartite because it is highly unlikely that other things are going to have the same spectrum. It may even be a mineral that we've never discovered before. With intensely colored spessartite, you're going to find a spectrum. And nothing else has that spectrum, to my understanding. So as a recap on clarity, loupe clean, absolutely worth investing in. Eye clean, absolutely worth investing in. Level 3, with some slight inclusions, can also be worth investing in. And the next two levels below that, which are more included, are still worth buying, but you have to think of them more as trinkets than investment level stones. They're just too common. I love the color, but you could buy shovelfuls of them. But once you start getting into eye clean and loupe clean stones, then that's something that you don't need to worry about putting in the safe and pulling back out in 5-10 years. Because even at that point, you're not going to find a lot of this material. There are many spessartite mines the world over, but finding pieces that are in that level of quality is very difficult. They're just rare. So the idea that we're gonna find another mine that's just overflowing with eye clean and loupe clean material is just, that's like saying we're all going to grow gills and we become fish again. Possible? Sure, anything's possible. But likelihood is what we deal with, especially if you're talking about money. Likelihood. If we're growing gills, then I don't think we need to worry about money anymore. Unless it's some of that Atlantean money. So we've talked about color, we've talked about clarity, and the final thing that we need to talk about is carat weight. As we've talked about in a recent video, there are magic numbers in most gemstones, and Spessartite is no exception to that. There are absolutely magic numbers, though perhaps they are less specific than in ruby and sapphire. What I will say is that a good carat size for investment level stones is going to be between 3 and 5 carats. 2 carat size stones can also be quite attractive, but 3 to 5 are always going to be easier to move because of their size. The way that 3 to 5 carat stones look in a ring is substantial enough for either gender without looking cheap or without looking too bougie. And again, that comes from the cultural lens of a North American. If you like something more substantial, then by all means go for 7 carats. That's where I would expect the next magic number jump to be. 3 to 5 carats should be a comparable price range for the same quality, same colors, same clarity level. But once you get to 7, I would expect there to be another jump. Same thing with 10 carats. Once you get above 10 carats, you start getting into very rare stones. If you can find a 10 carat and above Spessartite with excellent neon orange color and excellent clarity, particularly in the eye clean and loop clean categories, you're talking about something that you would want to hide and not tell too many people about. But you could tell me. So as a quick recap, I will say that Spessartite is one of my favorite stones, and it's fantastic for building connoisseurship and investing in gemstones because there's enough material for you to see and build your understanding of the quality of gemstones. But there are also qualities that are very rare, which makes them worthwhile to invest in. If you have any questions about sourcing gemstones, or if you'd like to know more about Spessartite, etc., please head over to gemshepherd.com, where you can read blogs about these topics and many other things. You can also get in touch with me directly through that source. Otherwise, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tell all of your friends about it. And until next time, bye-bye.